So tell me a bit more about the Tri-State City plan.
Tri-State City is they've already mapped it out. They're starting to build it now. They have to take out your farmers for multiple reasons. One is that also undermines the entire culture of Netherlands. The Dutch will cease to exist, other than in museums, right?
This is Michael Jon and Eva Vladingerbroek in conversation with Jordan Peterson. They are explaining how the globalist movement, facilitated by the national government, is trying to destroy Holland as a nation. It's scary stuff. Get rid of the farmers, take their land and prime it for mass immigration. That way you'll destroy the national identity of Holland. Here is Michael in the first clip explaining why the globalists love mass immigration.
Go ahead, Michael.
That weaponized migration, again, with massive people coming from massive numbers of countries into places like the United States and all across the EU, that creates that fracture, not at the personal level in one mind, but in the whole population. You know, nobody's going to be able to come together. You're not going to have Dutch farmers in Netherlands are going to be able to stand up because they're going to be replaced, right? And then you're going to have a bunch of people from Somalia and other places that are all mixed together. They won't have any centralized ability to organize. Perfect slaves. I mean, this is very easy. This is what they say they're going to do.
In the UK, something similar is happening in terms of mass immigration being weaponized. The Marxists can never install their ideology while we are a country united under a shared national story. They need to break that down. That's why they want more immigration. Import loads of people overnight so they'll form their own communities. People who have no loyalty to Britain and couldn't give a damn about its culture or history. The more people you import like that, the more it weakens a sense of united Britishness and social cohesion. It's then easier to install communism in a country that is fragmented and divided.
The most intense and totalitarian tyranny will necessarily emerge in the midst of the most fragmented and individualized population.
Here's Michael explaining how some cultures just do not integrate well, so importing masses of people from these places is a recipe for disaster.
You've spent a lot of time in poverty-stricken and war-torn countries, and my suspicions are, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that you've developed a certain degree of, what would you say, understanding of and empathy for the world's poor and dispossessed. And I suppose the globalists who are anti-border would make a case that the poor people around the world should have the opportunity to come to the West and flourish. And when you speak of the danger of migration, then it's easy to paint you as someone who's, anti-third world and anti-ethnic minority. But there is a real problem of poverty around the world. And so what's your sense about how that poverty could be properly ameliorated around the world without that poverty, without us falling into this homogenized, globalist, utopian, fractionated individual trap?
Well, keep in mind, I've spent more than half of my life overseas outside of the United States, more than half of my life in about 90 countries, right? So I understand that some fish just don't mix well in the same aquariums, right? I mean, there's some, if you had the aquarium fish chart, there are some fish like let's say Filipinos that are green, yellow. They don't get along with Filipinos as well, but green. Filipinos get along with everybody, right? They're like the universal donor in blood. And then there's Chechens, red. Some don't get along very well with each other. For instance, when I was in the migrant camps in Lithuania, I asked specifically, do you have any Chechens? And they said, yes, we keep them separately. I said, what's the critical mass? In other words, how many? They said, well, actually, we have a critical mass. We never have more than 6 Chechens together. If you have 7 Chechens or more, it's kind of a joke, but it's not. They go super critical, right? They become a gang, right? A lot of something that a lot of people don't understand is that you're not importing individuals. You're importing like Somali tribes or Nigerian tribes. When you meet a Nigerian, like I was with a Nigerian a few months ago in Ireland, and I asked him what people he was from. Was it the Igbo or whatever? What I was asking, there's different groups over there. And, the Nigerians don't come and get together with Nigerians. They come and get together with people from their tribe, right? So when you have Kurdish people come in, I love the Kurds. I'm out with Kurds a lot when I'm over in that part of the world. Or Yazidis. I've spent a lot of time with Yazidis up in Nineveh province in Iraq. And I met some Yazidis in the camps over in in Lithuania, for instance, and one's still there, he messages me, he's stuck in a camp. And he doesn't even speak English, he speaks German, so we have to communicate in German. He lived in Germany before. The point is, some of these people get along very well. Others come in as gangs or they become gangs later, right? And this is designed to split us apart. Now, of course, we can always take migrants in, and we should, but we should take them in the amount that can actually sort of dissolve within our, or at least become time to digest, let's say. But this is weaponized, integrate. This is weaponized. That's what Stalin did in the Holodomor in 1932, 33, and well, actually before and after that as well. That's what Mao did, Pol Pot, always trying to get rid of these base groups that have some cultural identity. The farmers. I keep telling Dutch farmers, because I'm looking at this from the orbital view, because I go from country to country and I'm looking for patterns. And they're very, like I said, we could go to Japan and you would hear the same conversation. Only the little details would change. And they're trying to prepare the Japanese actually to bring in migrants.
He's absolutely spot on. I've seen it with my own eyes here. The people who have come from Hong Kong all seem to be polite, law-abiding citizens who don't seem to have attitudes and practices that directly rub up against our own. They adapt to our way of life much better than certain other groups. But we've now got lots of men flooded into the country from Albania, the Middle East, and Africa. The Albanian and Somali gangs are setting up criminal networks around the country. Some of the men from these places come here with disturbing attitudes towards women, which is playing out on our streets. All the public's concerns are dismissed and ignored, as Eva points out.
It's absolutely true that it's a very, very hard question to solve, but the answer can never be a solution that doesn't work. I mean, the mass migration of radically different cultures, especially to Europe, has proven to be very, very unsuccessful, and something that the majority, at least of most Western countries are actually against, but they are never heard. Their questions are never answered. So democracy in that sense already does not function. We don't have borders, they are not protected. And the consequences have been quite detrimental for any major European city. And the answer to poverty in other parts of the world, I don't think can ever be, let's have all the young, capable men move abroad. Or move continent even. How are they going to build those countries up themselves? So I don't think that it's a solution for Europe, nor is it, for example, for Africa.
We have now started to see protests up and down the country over all the men being housed in hotels at a cost of £7 million per day of taxpayers' money, after videos of some of these men trying to pick up underage girls on the street went viral. The media and left-wingers just dismiss them as far-right Nazis and bigots. Some girls have reported this harassment to the police, but they just get called racist and told to shut up. I hear the same argument here. We're told because we have an ageing population that is somehow an excuse to start importing countless people, mainly men, from third world countries. I've seen with my own eyes towns where this has happened. And as Michael said, it's like we have poured petrol over ourselves. Social cohesion has broken down in these places, as it is now full of men from war-torn and poverty-stricken countries, many who spend their time hanging around on the streets in big groups. And it's so sad to hear they are now trying to force this madness upon Japan. It's all done against the will of the people. We have a general election in under 2 years, and it's pretty certain Labour will win. And it will only get worse under them, as they are for open borders. Last year alone saw the highest rate of immigration in Britain's history, and that was under the Conservatives, who won a landslide victory in 2019 when they promised to get back control of our borders. What hope is there when the party we voted for betrayed us? This will continue to happen whether we like it or not, and it makes no difference who is in power.